Start. Let's see here. Refreshed. And we going, Billy?
Let's see.
I think we are. We are live. I'm just trying to get live on here, everybody. There we go. Perfect. Now I can see the chat, too. I can see myself. Okay. Everybody, I'm Rick Beato. You know that probably because you're on this channel. But I'm playing my Gibson guitar here. Good to see everyone. This is a second edition of a live stream I did last month about how much music theory I can teach in 60 minutes. I'm going to do the same thing and how much guitar I can teach. Guitar theory, guitar playing I can teach in 1 hour. Now, we had run this big sale back then because over that weekend, and I got many emails after the sale had passed saying, you know, can we do this? So I'm going to do it one more time here. Since this is my birthday weekend, I'm going to be 59 on Saturday. I know, it's unbelievable. I can't even fathom. I know it when I'm out playing basketball and I land and I screw up my knee here. Anyways, so discount code RB59, my birthday. Discount is 65% off my Beato book YouTube transcription bundle and 45% off my ear training course. You want to improve your ear, you want to improve your knowledge of music theory and improvisation, of the guitar, of everything. Ear training is where it's at. The better ear you have, the faster you can figure out things and remember things. And I have a great quote for you that I wrote down today. I read this in the comments. This is the comment of the year. Somebody wrote to me, not knowing music theory is like driving a car without a map. You can bump into some amazing places, but you'll have to spend a long time finding out what you're looking for. Or remembering how you got there, okay? So, we're going to start here with the guitar. Once again, discount code RB59. This is for 65% off my PDF and 45% off the ear training course. If you're ever going to get it or you missed out last time, this is the time to get it. I'm not going to do it again this year. Okay, let's talk about basic guitar. Okay, so what we have, basic guitar chords, and like I said, you can just watch this thing over and pause it, watch it slower, whatever. But I'm going to go through, I'm going to start simple, but then get very complicated here very fast. So pay attention on this, right? Okay, the first chords that you should learn on guitar are what we call the open chords, or some people call them cowboy chords, right? So those chords would be G major, right? Now I play G major that way, or I play it this way. The only difference between that is that I have the open B string there. I call this a rock G. Typically, you will play this chord if you're going to D or C add 9, because you can keep this finger down as an anchor. And it makes it sound like the chords ring together better, because they do. If you're going to play G like this, it's easy to go to that C and hold this high G in the chord. So typically, if I'm in the key of C, I will play my C major chord like this, right? Because then I would go to G there, and I can get the F chord there. So there's some songs, right? But if I'm in the key of G, I will play my G like that. What are other chords to know? E minor. Always think about the fingerings while you are playing these chords. This fingering for E minor is the same as this, except when I'm on this, if I'm in this chord, I can pivot to C major without lifting my middle finger. Always think about where you're going on the next chord. If I have this E minor, I'm going to C major, the middle finger stays as the same on the same fret on that note E, second fret of the D string, right? Okay? If you don't have other fingers in common, if I'm going to G, then I will play it this way. So I go to this G or this G, right? Well, when would I play it like that? Well, if I'm going to play this G after, I would play it like that. And I would keep the middle finger in common. Always trying to keep fingers in common. For example, next open chord, A minor. A minor typically will go with C, okay? Well, it has two of the same notes in it, right? So you can see, here's your A minor chord, there's your C major chord. Now, if you notice my hand position, this is the most important thing I'm going to teach during this entire hour. My thumb and the fingers on my left hand are muting strings that are not being played in the chords. It's the most important thing that I'm going to teach you, and it's not even about doing anything. It's about not doing things. You don't want to play notes that are not in the chord that make it sound sloppy. If I let this low E ring, that note is part of an E chord, but it sounds way better if I play like that. Much cleaner than... Now, it's kind of subtle there, right? But if I have a D major chord, which is the next chord we're going to talk about, if I hit that low E string by accident, it's not part of the chord, and it sounds bad, okay? All I need to do is move my thumb around and mute it. You might have some guitar teachers out there say, oh, you should always play with your thumb behind the neck. Baloney. The thumb is movable and needs to be used for muting strings, and it needs to be able to be mobile, to be played behind the neck if you're playing bar chords, which we're going to talk about in a second, if you're playing scales. But many times when you're playing rock, you're muting those strings. When I play electric guitar, we're going to talk about that. Muting strings with your thumb is extremely important, okay? You want to always be muting strings you're not playing. That might mean touching the strings. Right here, my ring finger is touching the low E string on the top of it, and it's deadening it. It makes it sound way better. Okay, so D, C, G, A minor, E minor. These are all chords. I call them open chords because they have open strings in them. The next one, E major. Okay? There are some other chords that are commonly played that have open strings, that, but they're not quite as common. B7. Okay, if you're playing a blues, right? Right? That would be a B7 chord. Be used in blues or in Beatles songs or things like that. But that utilizes the open B string, right? So those are pretty much your open chords. After you learn those, we have to go to bar chords. Bar chords are for chords like F major that are very common. B minor, those are typically your first two bar chords that you're going to learn. Now, there are workarounds with those if bar chords are hard, but I'm going to talk about the bar chords. The bar chord is difficult, especially on F major, because the string tension is so great at the nut. Okay, I typically have the thumb behind the bar because the pinching motion here is what creates the actual bar, the movable bar for when you play bar chords. That's why they're called bar chords, okay? So, this is F major. Once again, this is my hand position. You always want to have space right here, okay? That space there, that V that you see, is going to give you the proper hand position so that you can get the downward pressure on the strings. And this goes for scale playing, everything. You want to always have the fingers angling down to give you as much down pressure as you can get to get nice clean notes so every note of the chord is clean. The same thing goes for when you play B minor. This is called a root 6 bar chord. B minor would be a root 5 bar chord. It's root 5 because the root is on the 5th string, which is the A string. Now, when I play B minor, I mute the low E string with my index finger. Every beginning guitar course should teach this. Every beginning guitar teacher should teach this. But they don't, because usually, some do, but most don't, because it's an extra thing to learn. But a B minor chord with that low string ringing doesn't sound very good, okay? So, all this stuff is in my book, discount code RB59, all these basic chords. Now, let's talk about the arching of the finger, especially the middle finger in both of these chords. The fingers need to be arched so that they don't hit the other strings. For example, the B string, I'm playing the note D at the 3rd fret on the B string, but I still have to get this note F sharp where the bar of my index finger is. If I have the finger leaning too much like that, it's going to mute. This middle finger will be muting this note. So what you want to do is you always want to test each note of a chord when you're learning bar chords. And make sure you can get all of them down. Your thumb will hurt for about a week. After that, you got it. Okay, so after simple bar chords, we're going to talk about power chords. Power chords are what we use in rock music. Now, there's a couple different ways you can play power chords. The 2-note power chord, if you're playing Green Day or a million rock songs, whether it's Nirvana, whoever it is, Slipknot, whatever you're playing, power chords, everybody plays power chords. Metallica, and the power chord can either be the 2-note power chord, that would be a G5 chord. Power chords are movable chords. They're either played with the root and the 5th, and if you're playing that, what you need to do is mute all the rest of the strings. I mute them with my index finger by moving my index finger down to touch the strings. This is extremely important because you should be able to strum. You should be able to strum all the strings and only hit those 2 strings that you're playing. Okay, that's a 2-finger power chord. If I do the same with a root 5, root on the A string, I have to mute once again the low E string with my index finger. Okay, so that is a root 5 power chord. Now we're going to talk about the 3-finger power chord that most people play. That is root 5th root. Now, why do most people play that? Because it has 2 roots in it. Because it has 2 roots, it makes the chord sound more powerful. Just like, why do metal players play a lot of downstrokes? Because you want the lowest note of the chord to be heard first. It makes it sound heavier. I would always tell people when I was doing records, metal records, no, don't do upstrokes if you can't help it. Unless the tempo is impossible, trying to do upstrokes, you want to hear the low note ring first, okay? So that's a root 6 power chord, root being on the 6th string. That's a G5, B flat 5. You know, if you're playing any song, It Smells Like Teen Spirit, like every rock song that you can think of uses power chords, okay? Now, root 6, root 5, same fingering, I'm blocking the low string, but there's a root 4 power chord that you actually will use. A lot of songs will call for the root 4 power chord. I play it all the time. So the root 4 power chord's tricky. So this is an F5. Okay? Now, you have to mute the string, the A string with this finger, with the index finger, which is what I'm doing. Well, what do you do about this low string so that you don't hit it by accident? You do the double mute, right? So I mute that low E string with this finger, and I'm muting the high E string with my pinky. And you're thinking like, wait, this is way too complicated, all this muting stuff. It is, but once you learn it, if you just learn the chords that way, you don't ever have to worry about it, okay? It sounds so much better when you're playing with distortion. Right, Billy? What's wrong? What?
Mateus is in the chat.
What's up, Mateus? Good to see you, man. So, Mateus knows this, too. Because Mateus is the most accurate, cleanest player that I know. He knows the importance of this stuff. Muting is the untalked about thing that teachers should really focus on, but they don't do it. I got to tell you, so when I did records, when people would be doing power chords, even in drop tunings, we're going to talk about drop tunings in a second. I would tape the high strings. I just would, because the guys would typically be so sloppy, most of the metal bands I worked with, and they'd be playing all power chords, but they'd be in drop tunings, right? If you played Spoon Man or something, you have to have all those high strings being muted. Okay, so muting is key. So that's a drop D song, as are almost all grunge songs. Okay, so there are power chords, bar chords, and open cowboy chords. Next, I want to quickly talk about strumming patterns. Okay, so for those of you that are learning the guitar, probably the most common strumming pattern that you will find in folk songs, and one of the hardest ones to teach people, is the... Oh my God, this is so difficult to teach beginners. And it's hard. I'll tell you why. In order to do it, I call it down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. The key to strumming, this is honestly the key to single note playing and everything, is to keep your hand moving. Downbeats, you play downstrokes. Upbeats, you play upstrokes, unless you're doing economy picking. We're not going to talk about that yet. Okay? So, down, down, up, down, up. Sounds easy. Oh my God, hard to teach. I rarely will teach somebody that can get this on the first try. Pretty much almost never. If you can get that strumming pattern, then you can pretty much play any song. Okay? Downstroke patterns are easy to play, and almost every strumming pattern is a variation on that, unless you're playing in three. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. So typically strumming patterns will have an accent on the downbeat, right? So down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Think of Beatles songs, You Gotta Hide Your Love Away, or Elderly Woman and the Pearl Jam song. These are very common 3/4 patterns, right there. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. So these patterns involve you missing the strings on the upstroke. So always keep your hand moving. Always up and down. It gives you the rhythm of everything. If you're playing upbeats, play upbeats with upstrokes. Downbeats with downstrokes. Okay, that's a basic rule. You get that, you're cooking. You pretty much got all of that nailed. I'm going to give you the discount code right now, once again, for the live stream. RB59s for my 59th birthday, which is happening on Saturday. 65% off my Beato book, 45% off the ear training course, Beato ear training course. You want to have a great ear to do this stuff, and everything I'm teaching you is in my book here, right? So, especially the stuff that's coming up next. Now we're going to get a lot more complex really fast, all right? We're going to talk about triads and how to play them on different sets of strings. Now, triads, what are triads? Why do you need to know them? Well, a lot of songs use basic triads, and I'm talking 3-string triads. That note, that's a G minor chord, for example. It's on the high 3 strings there. This, F major, G minor, D minor, C minor, F sus4, G sus4. That's Roxanne, right? So if you think of that, Roxanne by the Police, it uses all these 3-string triads, major and minor, okay? So this is why they're important. There are 3 different inversions. We'll start with major. G major there, G major there, G major there. Okay, this is what we call, this is actually with the root on the high string. This is with the 3rd on the high string and the 5th on the high string. Why do you need to know those? Because when you're playing arpeggios, you're playing arpeggios all over the neck like that, and you're going to be based around these different positions. So all of these different chord fingerings that I'm doing right here are all G major chords, okay? I know them everywhere on the neck, every set of 3 strings, right? So if I play G, C, D, G, G, C, D, G, 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 C, D, G. Okay, that's a 1-4-5 progression in the key of G, played with all 3-note triads. Next thing I'm going to do them on the next set of strings. G, C, D, G, right? G, C, D, G. G, C, D, G. Then you move to the next set of strings, and I will do it on all sets of 3 strings until I learn where they are, because this will set you up for learning the cage system, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right. Next thing to do, so those are 3-string inversions of 3-string triads. The next thing I want to talk about are spread triads. Spread triads are, if I take a G major chord like that, take the middle note and move it up an octave, you get a G major triad, spread triad there. So 1, 5, 3, then that's the next inversion, that's the next inversion. Those are the 3 inversions of a G major spread triad. Okay, why do you need to know spread triads? Because they sound great. You first learn them in one position. They're very cool for soloing, for doing, I have a lot of posts on Instagram where I play spread triads. I do warm-up things. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me at rickbeato1. Once again, I'm going to give you the discount codes in case you came in late. My birthday is on Saturday. RB59 is a discount code. It's 65% off my Beato book and 45% off my ear training course. The people that missed it last time that wrote to me, a bunch of you, I'm running it again for the weekend for those of you that missed out last time because it only lasted for the weekend before. Now, spread triads. So these are G major spread triads. 1, first, second version, third inversion. You want to learn these everywhere, right? So you want to learn 1, 4, 5. You want to learn, I'm going to do C major, right? Those are all C major triads. You want to do the same thing for D major, right? You got to learn all these fingerings. These are all in my book, all right? But they sound really cool together. You do the same thing with minor chords, all right? Let's say I'm playing G minor. These would be G minor spread triads. So I got 1, 5, 3, then first inversion, second inversion, third root position, right? These are really tricky to learn, to memorize them, right? So there are other types of spread triads too, besides major and minor. There are dominant spread triads. I like to do things like if I'm playing a blues. Okay, so right there, I'm thinking of F7 with passing chords, with all spread triads. Okay, if you're playing a blues, right? So right there, I'm playing an F blues, but I'm walking a bass line. 4 chord, B flat 7, F 7. Then the 4 chord. So this is a great way to learn your spread triads. These are spread dominant chords with passing chords, okay? All this stuff is in my book. I'm giving you a broad knowledge of spread triads. We have spread diminished triads. We have spread sus chords, right? If I play a G sus chord, that would be a spread sus chord. You can have a spread Lydian triad. I use these things all the time. If you watch my channel, you will hear me play these kind of voicings. Right? These are spread voicings. You can do compound voicings too, like sus2 chords like that, or like that. Same kind of thing, where you take a sus2 and you move it up the octave. Okay, so that would be a spread suspended 2 voicing right there. Very common if you think Think of Message in a Bottle or many Police songs. Many songs use spread sus2 chords like that. Sus2 is 1, 2, 5, but you take the second note of the second and you move it up the octave. Okay, there's your spread sus2 chord. Okay, so those are spread triads. It's a quick demonstration of how to do it. They're really cool to use. I'm going to go to electric guitar and talk about that, and then we're going to move on to scales here. So, if I play, let's say I got an A minor 7 chord, right? These are spread triads. Okay, so I play a C major, D major. Okay, so that sounds really cool, those spread triads over A minor. I'm going to do it again. A minor. D major. C major. G major. Love those sounds. That's why spread triads are great. Everybody says Eric Johnson when you play spread triads. I say Pat Metheny because Pat Metheny did them before Eric, and I love Eric, but they probably were doing them around the same time or so, in the mid-'70s, okay? But Pat Metheny, Eric Johnson, Rick Beato, don't put me in the category with them. I'm sorry. I'm way below them. They played spread triads in their improvisations all the time. They're really great to learn, okay? It also helps you know the neck, if you know where these things are. If you get on more complex chords, too, let's say I've got a C major. Let's say I'm doing like some type of a C major 7 chord, right? I could play G major spread triad, C major spread triad, or E major spread triad. Whoa. Wow, that's cool. Or D major over it. Right? That's a C major, a C Lydian sound there. Or I can do what I did, E major spread triad, give you a Lydian augmented. Beautiful sound. I love those kind of sounds. Let's talk about scales really fast. How do you learn scales? What are the first scales you learn? I like to teach people the pentatonic scales first, okay? I actually like to start with the major pentatonic, and I'll start with G major because it covers the entire neck, and you'll eventually get to the common position that everyone knows because it's the last position of this. Okay, so pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Now I'm in the next position. So that's the second position of the pentatonic scale. It's off the second degree of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Those are where each position starts. Okay? It's the first, second, third, fifth, and sixth note of a G major scale. Here's your G major scale. First note, second note, third note, fifth note, sixth note. Okay? Now, when I got up here, that is the position that everybody knows. They call it position 1, but it's really the minor. So that would be for E minor, right? If you're thinking of like, Back in Black, right? I'm trying to think how the solo goes. Now, Back in Black is all E minor pentatonic or E minor blues scale. Most rock is played with the pentatonic or the blues scale. When I'm using these terms interchangeably, the blues scale just has an extra note in it. It's a 6-note scale, which we call 6-note scales, we call hexatonic scales. But it's not the typical hexatonic scale that you would hear most people talk about. But what I do then is after I teach people that basic major pentatonic scale in the 5 positions or minor pentatonic in the 5 positions, they're all the same positions. If I play E minor pentatonic, it's all the same positions because E minor and G major are the same. Now if you add this extra note to it, this gives you the blues notes, right? Right? Same thing. You need to know where these blue notes are. You have to know where they are in every position. It's just practice and memorizing, okay? They're all in my book. Those are the 5 positions of the major pentatonic or minor pentatonic and the major and minor blues scale. Why are they important? Because every guitar solo uses them. That's why you need to know those. Next thing you need to know are the modes of the major scale. I'm not going to get into melodic minor modes. I might get into melodic minor modes. How am I doing on time, Billy?
Right now, we're at 32 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Oh, we got plenty of time. We're going to learn all this stuff. Okay, so then here are the 7 modes of the major scale. Ionian is the first mode. We're going to do it in the key of G. You're going to say, that sounds like a major scale. But it is. Ionian is the same thing as the major scale. It doesn't matter what instrument. If you play it on the keyboard, doesn't matter, right? It's all the same notes. It's the first mode of the major scale is the Ionian mode. The second mode is the Dorian mode. Okay, that would be A Dorian. So I'm going to basically follow the notes of G major up the low E string. G Ionian, A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D mixed Lydian, E Aeolian, F sharp Locrian. Okay, and that's how they... This is how they move. Lydian, mixed Lydian, Aeolian. Oh, whoops. Locrian. Mixed or major or Ionian right there, okay? What you want to be able to do is you want to be able to move freely around the neck in these scales by combining them. So I'm going between. Okay, so that's just all G major there. If I play a chord out of G major, let's say I play, let me play the A minor 11 again, right? You need to know them on all sets of strings. able to play them and never play a bad note, right? Okay, so those are the modes of the major scale. You got to get those fingerings under your hand. You have to learn them in every key. Well, how do you learn them in every key? Well, the way you learn these things in every key is taking, I use the circle of fifths. Remember we talked about that in the last video. C major, G major, D major, A major. You need to go around the circle of fifths and play them. One day, take all the modes of C major. The next day, take all the modes of G major, then D major, then A major, then E major, then B major, then F sharp major, then D flat major, A flat major, E flat major, B flat major, F major. And then 12 days later, you're back on C major. Okay? And you learn where all those different fingerings are all over the neck. So you can cover the fingerboard with all your major scales. And if you want to move on to scales, the next scale would be the melodic minor scale. Okay, these are what we call parent scales. There are 5 parent scales. You might be like, well, what about the minor scale? Well, the minor scale, the natural minor, is one of the modes of the major scale. It's called Aeolian. All right, so it's already in there. But there are other types of minor scales. There's the melodic minor, which would be, let's say we do an A. An A melodic minor scale is an A major scale with a flat third. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, major 7. Well, you say, well, why would you use that? When would you use that? Well, if you had a, let's say you had a minor major 7 chord, okay? So A minor major 7 would be this, right? There's your melodic minor. That's okay, that's what that's good for. It's good for a lot of different things. Melodic minor scales are important for things like altered dominant chords. Like if you have like a E7 sharp 9, right? So if I have that chord, let's say I got E7 sharp 9. I'm going to use the altered dominant scale. It's one of the melodic minor modes. Great sound. I see somebody in here said Purple Haze, right? Well, you can play. You can use the minor pentatonic scale on that, right? The minor blues scale. You can also use the altered dominant scale. You can use the diminished scale even, if I had that sharp 9 chord, right? That's a half whole scale. Okay, that's a whole nother thing, the dominant diminished scale. It's a whole nother scale that you can play on that. But I want to talk about how to practice chords and arpeggios next, okay? So there are a couple different types of chords that you'll use if you're playing jazz, neo-soul, funk, whatever. You got to learn drop 2 and drop 3 voicings, okay? Drop 2 voicings, this would be a drop 2 C major 7 chord. Now, drop 2 means you take the second note from the top and you drop it down the octave. Not important. I have a video on drop voicings. All the drop voicings are in my book. I do ear training with drop voicings where you have to hear the sounds of the drop voicings. Beato book, YouTube, Instagram transcription bundle, RB59 discount codes. My biggest discount ever. I'm doing it because a month ago when we did this discount deal, people wrote to me after the weekend, Rick, are you still doing this? I said, no. But since it's my birthday this weekend and I'm going to be 59, that's where the RB59 comes in. You can do that. You want to learn how to hear this stuff? So you hear that. So I was like, oh, I know that's altered dominant scale. Or I know that's A minor 11 or C major 7 sharp 5 or whatever. When I hear something, I know what it is. If it's some pop song and I'm doing my top 10 Spotify countdown, I know what all the chords are when I hear them because I just relate one to the next. Once I have a reference tone, I know what the other notes are, right? So I can figure out what all the other chords are in the chord progression since I know the theory behind it. If you're in the key of G, I know the 4 chords C major, I know the 5 chords D major, I know the 6 chords E minor, I know the 1 chord G major. If we're in B flat, I know that B flat major is the 1 chord and G minor is the 6 chord and F major is the 5 chord and E flat major is the 4 chord. I know all this stuff. I can just think of it instantly because I've studied it. Remember my thing I said? This is a comment from today from some video. Not knowing music theory is like driving a car without a map. You can bump into some amazing places, but you'll have to spend a long time finding out what you're looking for. That's like, that is one of the greatest comments I've ever seen in the comment section. And I added to it, when you bump into these things, you don't remember how you really got there. That's the other problem, right? You're just kind of fumbling around. Why do you need to know music theory? So you can be a great musician. So you can figure out things easily. I mean, these are some of the reasons why, right? This is why I do this. This is why I got on YouTube coming up on 5 years ago, is to teach people these things. So hopefully they use them to write great music. That's the whole point behind this. Okay, let's talk about root 6 drop voicings. Okay, so root 6 drop 2 voicings. I would start with, we'll do it in C major here. We'll start with the tonic C. This is a C major 7 chord. You need to know these voicings. C major 7, C dominant 7, C minor 7, C minor 7 flat 5, C diminished 7th, C augmented 7th, C augmented major 7th. This is augmented 7. Da, da. Those are the most common voicings. And then C minor major 7. Each of those has an arpeggio that goes with it that you should know across the neck and in multiple octaves. Okay, so if I play C major 7, I could play that's a C major 7 arpeggio in one position. All this stuff's in my book. Or you can play it across the neck in that way. I played in three positions. I'll start with the 7th. And the reason I do that is because these are repeatable fingerings. It's like what I would play on the piano. Very easy. You want to try and get repeatable fingerings like that, okay? That just repeat from octave to octave. 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 2. Those are really, really great to know. So I would practice C major 7, C dominant 7. But what you do is you state the chord first, play the arpeggio, and then state it again. Then C dominant 7, C minor 7. C minor 7 flat 5. Now, if you want to add extra notes on these, if I play C minor 7 flat 5. So I'm doing, I'm adding the extra third on the top. These are really important to know. You should be able to play these things in, like I said, in multiple positions and with all the available notes. So if I was doing C major 7, I'd start on the major 7th because it's in this one position. And I would probably add that note into it. I would do the same thing with dominant. Try and get as many notes as you can in one position. It'll allow you to shift and learn where these arpeggios are everywhere, okay? So So if I'm playing a C7 arpeggio there, I played it way up here. Should be able to mix it up anyway and just play only the notes of that arpeggio. I didn't play any note outside of that C7 chord, right? So if I play a C7 chord, let's say I do this, right? I played C7 sus because it sound cool. You can add in a couple extra notes. I add the fourth in there. Ooh, I love that. Beautiful. That's a beautiful sound there, right? Then you go to the root 5 arpeggios, okay? I'm going to do root 5 off F. Major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5, diminished 7th, minor major 7, and then you want to go to the augmented major 7th, and which one am I forgetting? And the I know I forgot one of them. Okay, so augmented major 7, you can play it here like this. Oh, yeah. And I can do augmented dominant 7th. That's the other one I forgot. And once again, you want to learn the fingerings off the root 5 position. Major 7, F major 7. I'm going to start on the 7th. Then dominant 7. I added that extra note in there once again. Right? F7. I add a couple extra notes in there. All this stuff's in my book. Then you go into the minor 7. Minor 7 flat 5. Diminished 7. Augmented major 7th. And so on and so forth, okay? Learning all those arpeggios, very important. Learn them everywhere, all over the neck. But once you've learned all these triads, just the basic 3-note triads like that everywhere, it starts to inform you where these things are. You'll start to see little fragments there. That little G major chord triad there, I'm like, when I play E minor 7, I see this G major chord inside E minor 7. Well, if I play E minor 7 here, this voicing, here's a G major chord over E. Okay, so G major is part of an E minor 7 chord. That's why knowing these voicings, if I'm comping for a tune, I know those two chords are related, G major and E minor, right? Major and relative minor, okay? Okay, so those are arpeggios. Those are 7th chord arpeggios. Now let's just talk really quickly about scales over chords. Okay, what scales go with what chords? Because that's kind of an important thing, music theory-wise. Okay. I talked about this in the last live stream, the last 1-hour live stream last month. Chords and scales are basically the same thing, okay? You have to know what the function of the chord is to know what scale to play over it. Now, there are exceptions. You can use what is called modal mixture. We'll talk about that in a second. But typically, if it's the 4 chord in a key, let's say you're in the key of G and you have C major, you're going to play C Lydian because Lydian is the 4th mode. Every mode goes along with its corresponding scale degree. Okay, so the Ionian mode goes with the 1 chord, Dorian goes with the 2 chord, Phrygian goes with the 3 chord, Lydian goes with the 4 chord, Mixolydian goes with the 5 chord, Aeolian goes with the 6 chord, Locrian goes with the 7th chord. Same thing goes with melodic minor. Melodic minor, Dorian flat 2, Lydian augmented, Mixolydian sharp 11, Mixolydian flat 6, Locrian natural 2, and alter dominant or super Locrian. Those, and what you want to do, eventually you're going to learn the modes of the major scale, the melodic minor scale, the harmonic minor scale, the harmonic major scale, and the double harmonic major scale. And then you will be a master of these, of your instrument, of any instrument, if you know all this stuff, right? But I would start with the major scale and the melodic minor scale. They're the two most common. The harmonic minor scale, we use the root position 1, and you use Phrygian major on dominant chords and stuff. If you're playing neoclassical metal, you're going to play a lot of harmonic minor. But typically, you're going to have it be functioning in a very, very particular way. Okay, so if I have a 5 chord, I'm going to play Mixolydian. Okay, if I have a 6 chord, I'm going to play Aeolian. And you might say, well, what if you mix some of these scales together? Why can't you play like an A minor? Or why can't I play, if instead of playing A Dorian, can I play A Aeolian? Totally. How about A Phrygian? Definitely can play A Phrygian. You can play A melodic minor. You can play A Phrygian. You can play A Dorian. You can play A Dorian flat 2. And there's many, many different scales you can play for chords. And they're just different flavors, okay? Dorian has a very bright sound, right? You heard me play Dorian already, right? Aeolian has a little bit more melancholy sound. Oh, I like that. If I played A Phrygian, that's got a very much darker sound. This would be A Phrygian. And it might go. I went from A Phrygian to A major. Really powerful sound, right? It's like A minor to A major, but that flat 2 resolving down. So all these modes have their own color to them, right? The minor major, the melodic minor scale, the harmonic minor scale, all different modes have different colors to them. And you just mix and match them and play them. Modal mixture is basically where you play different modes over different chords. Right? If I have an A minor chord like this, I can play Dorian, or I can play Aeolian. I play those two different scales. Now, the Aeolian sounds really good when I have that flat 6 in there. When I have that flat 6 against the in the chord and I play the 5th against it, right? So It's just a different sound. That's why modes are beautiful. They're just ways of painting different landscapes, right? It's different than the blues scale. It's different than, it's just different ways to color, to paint a picture or whatever, right? If you're improvising. And certain players will play more modal things. Like Jimmy Page plays that flat 6 on Stairway to Heaven. He's a... then he goes, in this one spot, he's going, he uses that F natural in there perfectly. He uses it there too. He uses that flat 6 or that F to paint a little different picture instead of staying completely with the blues scale or the pentatonic scale. Same thing with Peter Frampton. These guys play those extra notes. They know what extra notes to use beyond the blues and pentatonic scale to give their solos more color. Okay? And once again, like I said, it's like painting this stuff. Okay? This is why you learn these things. This is why you develop your ear. So if I hear a chord voicing, I know what it is and I can improvise over it. It doesn't matter, right? If I'm hearing like a voicing like this, I might be like, I used a sharp 11, and I used a sharp 5. Totally different sound, right? I was using 2 different modes over that C major 7. I used Lydian and I used Lydian augmented. And it's like, whoa, wow, that sounds cool. I mean, to me, when I hear that, I'm like, man, I like the sound of that because I haven't heard it a million times, right? Okay. Billy, I think that was meaning that 3, right?
3
left.
We got a lot of super chats.
A lot of super chats. Let me answer the super chats. Hit them. Go ahead.
Well, of them are saying happy birthday.
Thank you.
Rory, cheers from Ireland, Rick.
Yep. Hey, Rory.
Pete, you
Pete.
rock, Rick.
Thank you, Pete.
George, we have the same birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday, George.
Alistair, hey, Rick, please do something on either Square Pusher or Lage Lund sometime.
I will.
Gugerstein, happy early birthday, Rick.
Thank you.
DMCA's Be Cursed.
I saw that one, actually.
Jay Hardy, happy birthday, Rick. Thanks for the great channel.
Thank you.
And that's all the super chats.
Awesome. By the way, all my DMCA, all my takedowns, all my blocks are gone. I had more blocks this week. I mean, I can't make a video about. I get sick of making videos about it and stuff. But the stuff is all the video takedowns and everything that's going away. And by complaining about it, it actually works. And the labels are getting hip to it and stuff. They understand that is beneficial for the artists, especially for these heritage artists, that put out records 40, 50 years ago. I mean, come on. People's attention spans, kids want to hear new music. They want to discover the music of their generation. That's why when I make videos, I don't trash things that I hear when I'm doing the countdown of the top 10 in pop or in metal. Okay? Yeah, I may not like everything, okay? But I try to find the positive things because people will listen to you more if you're trying to convince them to expand their taste. If you can draw them in by actually listening to what they have to say, right? You're trying to say, no, Eric Clapton's the best guitarist in the world. What do you think? Oh, never mind. I don't care who you think is the greatest guitar player. Like the guitarists of your generation, Mateus Assados, right? Or Julian Lage, or whoever. These are this generation. These are the guitarists of this generation, right? And And if I'd like to tell you about Alan Holdsworth, or maybe about Pat Metheny, or about John McLaughlin, or Al Di Meola, I want to tell you about those guys. But you're not going to listen to me unless I listen to you, right? It's about listening to each other. It's very important. Anyways, okay. Discount code RB59. I can't even believe it. 65% off my Beato book YouTube, Instagram transcription bundle. It's a 700-page PDF. Very worth it. It's about half of what a guitar lesson would cost. And 45% off my Beato ear training. Once again, this is something you can do ear training at any point in your life and get better at it. I get better all the time. I get better when I'm practicing the guitar, except when I'm playing it up here by my chin for live streams. It feels very awkward. Now that I've gone back to practicing normally, I'm trying to navigate through it. Anyways, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And that's as much as I can teach in 1 hour, right, Billy?
Yep, and the stream will be available once it ends, too.
Yeah, the stream will be available once it ends. By the way, if you want to slow things down, I told this last time, you were like, what? You can slow YouTube down to 0.75% or 0.5%. And somebody told me that if you can slow me down to, when I'm reciting pi in my last video, down to 50%, and you can make and play a beat behind it. It sounds like trip hop. So I don't know if that's true. I'm going to try that. But I thought that was a great suggestion. So whoever said that, thank you very much. All right. We'll catch you guys later.